Excuse me. Sorry. Hey.
You don't have your backup drummer right now.
I know, dude. I was like, you know what? I was gonna do the, but I was like, whatever. You know, when I can't take his role, he's like the John Bonham of microphone playing. So
He's really good at it. I don't know if you guys listen to the podcast audio. We can hear you guys, doing your instruments and all that, and it's part of the show now.
if you guys didn't know, yeah, on the audio version, it's
You can
basically
hear
an extended cut. Yeah,
you can hear Kurt and Jake just goofing off in the back.
it's pretty good. So
So how is everybody? Let me bring up the comments real quick. I think it's
Bring
pretty
up.
obvious that we're down a night. Kurt's not feeling too well. Give him your
No, sir.
best wishes. Go ahead and go and spam his IG, his comments, whatever.
Give him hell, man.
Ask him how he's doing. See what he tells you.
He said, yeah. See if the truth comes out. I don't believe it. I think he's lying to us, man.
I don't know, but it's the middle of summer. Stuff happens. I don't want to get too detailed in it, but yeah.
Nah, can't do that.
So what's up, man? Busy bee?
Yeah, dude. It's weird. We had a really mild week. Like the past 2 weeks, we were talking running ragged, yada yada yada. This week, man, really yeah, dude, it was just tapered off this week.
That's weird.
Like today, there's a few calls, and then, there was shoot. I got a loaded schedule tomorrow, but like the other days during the week, it was pretty light,
Well, we've been busy.
You?
And
say.
no, we've been busy. I've been trying to get the guys outfitted, the new guys, with the tools that they need, and obviously we have connections as influencers, whatever.
Hey, tell me more about these perks.
I just get.
I'm not seeing them. Okay.
Now I can give off, give the. I have like thermal imagers just piling up in the closet over here.
That's right.
I'm just giving them out now. Like, you need one? You need one?
Yeah.
The guys needed some drills. I was like, all right, I got extra impacts now, so just give them some stuff, batteries, and trying to hook them up because they were using some stuff that my dad handed down to them. And they're like, I can't use this like old DeWalt stuff. Yeah. They wanted the Milwaukee, so I was like, all right. Speaking of which, I just want to mention real quick. Milwaukee has. I'm trying to get that drawer, that rolling drawer that just came out. Yeah. I was told it was back ordered, but eventually I want to finish the setup with that. But I see a lot of people complaining about like, I think it's like $250, right?
Yeah.
Some tough built influencer or whatever ambassador was posting the all the new drawers that Tough Built came out with. The dude's not from here. He's like from the UK, somewhere wherever they use like pounds, right? But he's talking dollars. So I'm assuming he means US dollars because he's like, oh, let me give you some pricing. This stuff's not out yet. $450 for some of their stuff.
Ain't no daggone way.
Well, I can't look it up because they're not out for sale yet. So, he's like, I got these ahead of time, but I'm going to give you some pricing. And when I heard him say dollars, I'm like, this guy's talking about US dollars. Like everybody complains about the,
dude,
the $250 from Milwaukee.
What would the exchange be if that was pounds though? You know what I mean?
But he didn't say pounds. He said dollars.
Well, doll hairs, though. You know what I'm saying?
Doll hairs. I don't know. Well, see when it comes out. They had some cool stuff, but I just need that one large drawer, and my setup will be complete.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the van shelving system. I'm pretty. I want that.
Oh yeah, what?
I do want that.
They have a lot of cool stuff coming out this year.
Woggy.
What was I gonna say? So it's a shame that Kurt's not here because I kind of wanted to get into some A2L discussion.
Dude, I was thinking the same thing because A2L is it's a hot topic issue right now. But there's one dude out there that I really wish we could like just get him on, and it would just. Do you
It'd
think
be
you
the
have that
it'd
type
be
of
the
pull? Like
it'd be the
he's
bee's
a Texas
knees.
guy. He's a Texas guy, right?
Yeah,
Shit, call him up.
fellow
See if he
Texan.
can get on.
Have
Yeah,
you had any issues with A2Ls yet? Like, well, you have 454, right? Is that what
yeah. So we
you
got two.
guys are using?
We got, yeah, yep. Rude. We got two tanks. Our supplier is really cool
Flex.
with us. Yeah, no big deal. You know what I'm saying? Our supplier, like the dudes we deal with, like again, it's a small family owned operated. They only got 26 stores, and I say only, but in Florida. So, whatchamacallit
Look,
it?
it's worse if it's pounds actually, because
Oh
he's like
yeah,
in
that is
pounds,
crazy.
450 is 500.
So, but the potential good news, I guess, is like Rude and them are adding capacity into the condensers for Rude's at least doing, I think, up to 30 feet
I
of
heard that.
additional length, or I guess 15 additional feet from the 15 feet.
I heard
So,
that. And you know who I heard that from? I'm gonna phone a friend real quick.
yeah,
Let me see
bring
if
him
I can get.
in.
We got the expert on A2Ls right now. If I changed it.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Bam, we got Kurt's replacement.
Oh, let's go. Oh, man.
That's because we're doing the
Shit.
whole. Well, if we want to, no, I'm not gonna mess with it. What's up,
Just
Ty?
try. All right, yeah.
What's happening?
Well,
Ty,
if I
Ty, Ty, Ty. Spam the chat with Ty, man.
okay, look, let me just show the audience what it would have looked like because I screwed up.
Oh,
Kurt would have been here
yeah.
in
Yep. Oh, you can
camera
do it. There you
form.
go. You can if you want to do that.
Okay, we'll
Yeah.
do it for now. Kurt's here in spirit.
Yes.
What's up, Ty? How are you?
Man, I've been doing fantastic.
Staying busy?
Let's
Doing
go.
good. Oh my gosh, there's been like 1,000 things going at once, and I think I do better. Like when there's just like too much going on, like I just do better, like
I,
solving problems. When everything's lined out and going easy, I stress.
I feel the same way. That's why I do so much on my own. Like, and I told Kurt last time that we were talking about being busy. I was like, I'm out there putting out fires. I just want to like get all the problem solving, all the difficult calls, and then I got to sit down at a desk and do the work here, and then like, you know. But if I don't have that, I don't feel right.
Mm,
Yeah. Yep. Same.
So
preach.
the whole A2L thing, because we're talking about this. Well, the reason I wanted to do this is because last time we had talked about A2Ls between the three of us with Kurt, but we did it before we went live, and then we just went in a whole different direction, and we never went back to it.
Yeah.
We were actually like what Jake was saying. We were talking about the whole, adding extra for line sets, all that kind of stuff. And I think I had seen that because I told them that Train was charging, but I think they backtracked on that. And I think I saw one of your videos recently where you talked about, I think almost all of them are doing that now. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we got Carrier, Ream, Linux, all charged to a 30-foot line set for 3/8. And then we have Train that was charged up to a 25-foot line set, and they removed their $50 fee, which that's awesome. Much respect for that. And York, I haven't got anything from York, and I heard from one of their reps, and it's just a rep, so it doesn't mean this is York's stance. But they said no. We're going to let you buy $1,000 drum if you buy our equipment. We're not adding any extra refrigerant. I'm like, wow, what a good guys! Like that's so nice of you.
It's a whole
And
thing now. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say you're a lucky customer to be able to buy an additional after buying an arm and a leg on the additional cost they throw on top of the equipment. You can also buy this glamorous tank of
Isn't it like a
A2L
Ponzi
454.
scheme?
Yeah, dude,
It's like, hey, if you buy
yeah,
more refrigerant, we'll sell you the refrigerant you already need.
yeah. Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. Yeah, we're
That's
going
not,
through it right now.
yeah, I was gonna say that's not typically when you would need it. It's like on a late day, you need to top off a system, this and that. Jake went through the issue of also the adapter, remembering to have the adapter.
That was the worst, dude. That day sucked a butt.
I don't think
Oh
you've
man.
mentioned it here. Why don't you explain?
Oh, so we were doing a change out, and of course, forgot the system was 454. They delivered it. We're running late. Just logistics that day sucked. We're finishing it. Need to top off the system. Okay, didn't think about it. Nobody had it. Go drive 45 minutes, pick up the refrigerant, get back to the job site. Need the adapter. I'm like, son of a bitch. Like, it was the absolute worst, dude. And we found some hole in the wall, like Amazon affiliate looking HVAC supply house. Unfortunately, they had one.
Oh, that's how you got it.
Yeah, dude. It was like, and Q is he speaks Spanish, and everybody in there like spoke Spanish, so I didn't know what to say. I was like, the adapter. And he was, you know what I mean?
El
Oh.
Adapto. So
There it
what's
is.
crazy is like this thing, I hate it. I'd rather have the hose, and I ordered a hose and I lost it. But when you're tightening it, maybe it's just me, but you have to remember to
Yes,
reverse
no.
thread. And that's one thing.
Yeah, that.
But then the
I know
hose
what you're about to
goes the
say.
other way.
Yep.
So when you flip it over, I burned the heck out of myself. I felt like a noob, and because I couldn't remember which
Yep.
way to tighten which one, and it made it worse. And so, yeah,
Yep.
and I don't understand. I get it. It's a flammable, so it's supposed to be reverse threads, but that's just like stupid.
Yes.
Well, yes.
That's
Thank you
that's
for
what I
coming
did.
on and verifying everything that we've ranted about for the past few weeks. I don't get it either, man. Because like, obviously, there's 454B and there's R32, and then we're phasing out 410A. I get it. These changes happen, but they're made of similar components. Like it's not. To me, it's not entirely new. It's just a different setup here. And to go with the whole reverse thread, treating it like acetylene, basically, like I don't get it.
Yeah, it's mildly flammable, but we're gonna put a big flammable sticker on it. Use
Yep.
reverse threads, use leak sensors, use all this, and it's really not that flammable. But like they go so extreme one way, and they're like, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it," and tell your customers not to worry about it. I'm like, "Yeah,
Dude,
but
you're
you're
scaring
giving me."
everybody. Yeah. Oh, it's
So
witchcraft.
this one doesn't have a big flammable sticker, but the other one's like the box. It's this huge sign on it, and then the customer's like, "Hey, what are you putting in?" And then you have to go through the whole explanation. It's
Yep.
crazy.
It
By
ain't
the
as bad
way,
as
just so you know.
it
Oh
ain't as
shoot,
bad as it
bring.
looks.
I love R12. I have a can somewhere.
I worked on R12 not too long ago. I didn't want to, and I told the customer I can convert it to 134A. Did the whole process because I had leaks and stuff, and we needed a new compressor anyway, but didn't want to. And I got called back like, yeah, go ahead. We approved the quote. I'm like, crap. But like, we got it going. I just went through it, got all the leaks out, patched everything, changed our TXV, and it worked and it's still working. That's what
R12
we
is a
do.
great refrigerant. And there's another refrigerant off the dust off cans. It's R123, or I can't remember the exact number, but it's a direct replacement for R12, and it works amazingly well. And I had some here, and I don't know, but it works really good. You have to have the side puncture, the old school automotive side puncture, but
Oh,
works great as a replacement for 12 if you can't get any. It actually replaces 134A and works better.
Oh, good to know.
we got Sam with the
What do you?
questions already. How can you mix
One, two, three, four.
1234YF with R32 by combining them? Do you need a chemical process to get them to mix together? Won't they separate if you just add it on top?
So it's just like sweet tea, right? You add the two components together. I mean, that's really all it is. Remember how they tell us that if we charge 410A, we have to charge it upside
Yes.
down as a liquid so it doesn't fractionate? It's just two gases together. And in the system, they actually boil at different points in the evaporator, and you can see it with a thermal imager. So it's literally just two refrigerants in a can, but because of that precise mixture, they have a patent on it. So Honeywell and Honeywell has the patent. They have an agreement with Chemours, so they don't want anybody else making it. And there's other reclaimers out there that have enough reclaimed 1234YF and have enough reclaimed 22 that they can put in a recovery, or they can supply us the refrigerant we need, but they won't let them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Shaken, not stirred.
It's all just that's what I was talking to somebody about. I think we talked about it on here last time. It's basically, I mean, they're just gouging, and it's in plain sight what they're doing. And then I was actually talking to our sales rep, and he was like, "No," he goes, "Well, this is what it is. It's the tank shortage." I'm like, "Well," I said, "Brother," I said, the 32 tanks are just fine. They got 32 for days." I'm like, but he's like, "Yeah, so."
Yeah, because they were
dude,
blaming it on the relief valve.
the rupture. Yeah.
Yeah,
Same
and
one?
I keep hearing something new every week. And Honeywell put out that official notice. They mentioned nothing about tanks.
Of course.
So what's the issue?
I think they said it was all outsourced overseas, if I'm not correct. Was that the email or something?
They
could
were
be
having
wrong.
to increase production, outsourcing it overseas, and they didn't clarify it was the refrigerant or the tanks they were outsourcing, but they said they were outsourcing. And
Yeah.
like, I think it's just easier to blame. Oh, it's the tanks. But when I reached out to Worthington, the tank manufacturer, they said that they were meeting all of their current or existing invoices that they had made. They were on schedule.
Mm-hmm.
They said now they have an overload, like all these other ones came in. So to me, I'm not a businessman, but to me, it's like,
Yeah.
if they're meeting all of their goals, somebody didn't order enough. So you can now say we don't have the tank to put it in, but somebody didn't put the order in for the tanks to begin with. And who would that have been? Right? We're right back to
Yep.
square one.
Yep. Concurred.
Megan's
real.
asking any movement on Honeywell opening up who can make 454B yet.
Oh, they have it very close. And there's actually a lawsuit. Other chemical companies are suing Chemours and Cura for having a monopoly on the refrigerant. This started in December, before we ever had this shortage. And I was like, I wonder what that's going to come out to be. And then now that this is happening, I'm like, oh. So, like, I don't know, but I think it's, either complete incompetence or by design. And so I'm like, the Chemours guy got into a lot of trouble for fudging their numbers in last year, or his year before last. I can't remember what it was, but remember that big, they got removed from office. All the top CFOs, CEOs, all those people got removed. Yeah, and so then this is happening, and I'm like, what else is connected?
That's wild.
Man, Chemours wanted to come on my podcast. I should have him on and kind of ask these questions.
Bring him in. Oh, they are mad at me, and they've even.
I was just say, just bring Ty in.
It's like,
I have somebody,
hey, don't
somebody
listen
here.
to people on social media.
I'll have somebody here who wants to speak with you.
Yeah, that would be
Don't
good.
listen to social media. They're nuts.
The message was on social media.
Don't listen to us either, okay? Just trust it. Trust the process.
Fear mongering on the flammability and price gouging, which we've been through before with the whole pandemic. We always bring up the $85 drum that we used to be able to buy for 410, and how much it jumped from 1 year to the next, or month, probably, within a few months it went up. And one thing about prices is once they go up and it's like the norm, they'll never come back down.
There'll always be a demand, and they're going to see the demand is still there, and they're not going to jump off of that and come off, to even, maybe somebody will, maybe one manufacturer might, hey, we're going to honor that. But, SEER 2 came out, they weren't prepared, and they jumped the prices up there. Now we got, all
you
this
had
tariff.
a lot of issues with that.
Oh yeah, dude, the tariff shit. They dropped them down, but they kept them at the same price that they gave us when they first initially said they were going to get. You know what I mean? And now with this whatever, the refrigerant thing, like you said, I mean, eventually that's gonna stay. I think the refrigerant's definitely gonna have to come down, but
but
Well,
I don't
here's
know.
what's crazy. When I bought this tank 2 years ago, I think it's 2 years ago. I can't remember exactly, but this was $225, and the
Yeah.
454B was $450. So his 454B is already twice the cost before
Yeah.
all this happened, and now the price of this is going up as well. And I'm like, hey, hey, hey! At least this one doesn't have a patent, right? So,
Yeah.
or doesn't have an open.
Yeah.
$1,000 drums.
It's what's your thoughts here on the GWP though? You think they're going to end up doing something funny again, and the standards are going to be lower than where 32 needs to be, and that's why the other manufacturers went with 454?
So, will we have a refrigerant change? Oh, probably so, right? But let's talk about that R32, GWP, all that stuff. So, let's everybody's like, "Oh, the EPA is doing this to us." First, let's clarify, this isn't the EPA's doing. This is because of the AIM Act passed in 2020, bipartisan Congress. It was put into law by John Kennedy. He introduced the bill, bipartisan, both sides, whoever you voted for, both sides passed it, signed into law by President Trump December 27th, 2020. So that called for the phase down of HFC refrigerants, and they called it the American
Mm,
Innovative Manufacturing Act, even though everything in there talked about global warming potential and all of that. Before that, the EPA couldn't regulate global warming potential because the Clean Air Act said you could only regulate ozone depletion. So the AIM Act made all this happen. And then that gave the EPA the authority as the administrator, word for word, to regulate and meet this timeline of phase down. Now, guess who also lobbied for that? That was Keymore's and Honeywell that pushed for that so heavily. So
mhm,
then there was three levels for GWP: 700, 300, and 150. Those are the three levels they said. They worked everything around that. And for HVAC, from now on, everything was at the 700 level for air conditioning and heat pumps. So there's no change in that except for the state of New York. So there's nothing to change off that. Now, if there was going to be a change, it would go down to the next level, which is at 300, which eliminates both
mm,
of them. Now everybody's like,
okay.
well, Europe, well, Europe, well, Europe is having a lower number, and that's Europe. That's not here yet, but they're also banning our friend 1234YF because it breaks down in
Yep.
tetrafluoro TFAs, forever
Still
chemicals.
got the
So they're
yeah.
banning this. So this is 31.1% of 454B. So if we want to look at
Yeah.
what Europe's doing, if this goes away, 454B goes away also. So either way, their fate is tied together.
All
Eventually,
right.
we'll be replacing it, but right now, they're connected.
Good call. How fast was the phase out supposed to be when? 2030 what? You think it'll be way before that?
Well, it'll have to be another act of Congress to make a change. So I don't predict anything in these next 4 years, assuming that it takes at least a year for everything to get through Congress. So that's six, and that's assuming everything goes perfectly smooth and it's a
Mm.
bipartisan. And then you end up with another 4 years at the soonest to get regulations into place. So 6 plus 4.
So it'd be where it's supposed to be, right?
And
Wasn't it 2036 or 2035?
I think
well, I
so.
mean, it's a phase down in 20. I have to look at the dates, 2036, but they're still making it. That was just
Hmm.
the final
Yeah.
level. So we'll see what happens.
Jason says a carrier train in York didn't want to give Daikin any love, so they picked 454B to monopolize it.
Oh,
I
the
mean,
other manufacturers hate Daikin. They actually call
Yeah.
it the Death Star of Waller County. That's what they call the Daikin facility. Like they
really?
hate them. I actually got to talk to some of the big shots, and I won't tell you what company, but the
Okay.
guy actually lobbied for 454B, and he told me like why and all the testing. And one of their biggest reasons, or his biggest reasons, was because they didn't want to use 32 because Daikin used it, and they wanted to do anything they could do to hurt their competition. And I'm like,
Oh.
that's stupid.
All right, Jason proved a good point there.
Boom. Bomb dropped. What's up? Where you at? You heard it here. Yeah, no,
I
Jason
believe
Jason got the inside
Jason.
scoop with his
Yeah, I was
Daikin.
like Jason's over there with Daikin. I work well. I buy from Johnstone. They're a Daikin dealer, right? We like that's what they push. That's what we've put in. Now, older Daikin units, were notorious for leaking. I didn't like them, but like we put in like 3 of the newer ones, and I've had no issues with any leaks or anything major. Like they've been running really well. So for me, I'm okay using that. And obviously, I just checked right now. They do have R32. They're not going to have 454B. They haven't had it for months. I've checked. Our R32 is currently at $425 if I wanted to go pick some up.
What?
Yep. So, and that's coming from Johnstone that sells Daikin. So, I mean, it's getting outrageous because that's the price of like
What?
everything else that's
Bro,
being phased out for me, like 404
yeah,
and all that.
the last 32 I got was like 2 weeks ago, bro. It was 239.
One of the weeks that we talked about it, I did check and it
Yeah.
was that price. I don't know if this was a recent change or
Wow.
what. I have to check
And
like
Megan's
every
got a
week
good
now.
point. The Carrier uses R32 in their scroll air-cooled chillers.
Carrier and train. Oh, that's right. Yeah. I remember the
So it's
train one.
like, man, it's just a poop show right now. It
It
stinks.
is. It is. Oh, and the manufacturers, they are super upset with me about this. And I'm like, guys, if you have refrigerant, like none of this would have to be talked about. But people are doing this whether
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about it or not, because they are trying to find a way. And you keep saying, oh, you can't do this, and you can't do that, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. I'm like, then it should be illegal to sell your product. I mean, it's that simple.
Ooh.
If we can't do those other things, then it should be illegal
Yes.
to sell air
Look.
that use a product we can't get.
Yeah. Look. Like me, I'm a small business. You know, there's only a few of us. It's me and my dad running it. Like, I'm not ready to commit or try to. Like, I'm barely gonna start selling units this year because we've been able to fix everything so far. But now, like, you know, some systems are just super old. Like, they're leaks everywhere. I'm not looking forward to, you know, having to put in a new system and then worry about like I said, Daikin used to have leaks within a year or two. I hope they don't have that now, but any other system, because some of them do want specific brands. Like I give Daikin as a like a budget cheaper option, right? But sometimes they're like, oh, I want Carrier, I want Train. Like I give them what they want. It's just I'm not looking forward to if I have to add any refrigerant or anything. So even with the refrigeration stuff, I'm still trying to use like 404 and other refrigerants before I have to switch over to, you know, whatever 448, 449, whatever guys are using. And it's just like the small businesses, I think Jake, you mentioned that not too long ago, like we're the ones hurting, struggling to
Mm-hmm.
keep up with repairs and installs because of just the damn refrigerant. Like we know how to fix it. We know what needs to be done. Like we have everything except the refrigerant or the coil, whatever it is. Because I was telling Ty, Jake, still waiting 2 months on
Mm-hmm.
that coil that I've been complaining about.
Shoot. God, yeah. Didn't it? Did they
Like,
end up, they shipped it to the wrong place or something too, didn't they? Or is that something else?
no, that didn't that was that
That
you or
was I
somebody
know that
else?
was me, but I thought you had a similar issue.
No. It's
That
just
was
no update. Just it's not here yet.
just wait
Check
on
back
it.
in
Yeah.
another month.
Gosh, yeah. Where it's affected us, like you said, small businesses, right? So it'd be nice to be able to still sell the 410 equipment if you had your hands on it. But the bigger companies with huge pockets, large capital, were able to just buy it all, put it in their warehouse, and hey, these guys, we offer what we can offer, right? And it comes down to like, all right, well, we can't. But what I'm trying to say is the other guys can offer what we can't get, so at obviously a lower rate than what we're trying. So we're just, and it keeps the big companies big and the little companies kind of getting pushed out, as I feel like the cycle always goes.
Yeah,
So
it's a
there
big.
was
Unfortunately.
two things about that private equity. One is they're big enough where they can just buy a unit they're not going to use and recover the refrigerant to use, or buy them to buy the tanks. But I also
Mm-hmm.
talked to a private equity company or a guy from that company, and they saw the shortage coming and they started just buying up everything they could, not only to store it and have it, but to hurt the smaller companies to put them out of business. And
Yeah.
I was like, he was bragging about it, and I was like getting ticked off. So I'm like,
Oh
that's not
yeah.
something to brag about. That's
That.
dirty
Yeah.
ball.
No, exactly. It's the same crap that happened with the house. Like, I don't know where in Texas how it is for you guys, but in Florida, the same crap. All these homes they were building, all these private equities came in, bought up all
Oh
the
yeah.
homes. Now, all these homes, there's literally a neighborhood they built around this state park, and I swear to you, you'll go down just one street, and every house says for rent, and
Hmm.
it's all through whoever that these equity firms and crap, and you're just like, instead of families to grow and do how life is supposed to be, and it just everything boils down to the same shit together.
Yeah, I was gonna say
But
it's all the same shit because
y-
it's the housing. We see that here too. Everybody, buys them up and tries to flip them, turn them around to. Um, oh, thanks for the super chat. I'll get to that in a bit. I need to get to the chat, but they flip it because they buy up so many. Same thing in the HVAC industry with the equipment, refrigerant, whatever it is. The big companies always dive into that, and then even the whole thing with these big companies or whatever they're called, like buying up family businesses
mhm,
and then buying like their likeness and stuff because they want to use the same name, still say
of
family
course.
owned, still all that. And you go and call like your local companies and they're all owned by the same person. Like it sucks.
Yep.
It's all my processes and procedures.
A peach.
Don't even.
Look, I can come into any company, brother, and I'll tell you, I'll implement my processes and my procedure, and I'm gonna have that thing running in 30 days, and I won't even have to be in the office one bit. It's the Grant Cardone's, you know what I mean? Stuff. All, you
For
gotta
just
love
a
it.
dollar a day, is your family's
Oh,
health
let's go.
worth it?
Oh, Kurt would have loved that. Yeah,
Yo,
we
that
love the
is the
four
best.
quarter joke.
Dude, I saw his thing popped up again. God, it was so bad. He used an AI thing with a baby, and it was like, "Did you know the chlorine water that you're drinking and this that, and the third, and for this much a day, you won't have 20% cancer rates rated at." I'm like, dude, like it's literally scare tactics and fear
Oh yeah,
mongering. Did
I
you
know what
see
you're
that
talking about.
one?
No, but I was trying to picture it. I know what you're talking about. Oh man,
It comes out. Do you have 4 quarters a day? Yeah,
I
dude, I got a
love.
sandwich too. I can feed the homeless. Like, shut the hell up. Oh man.
Where was I? Oh, Mike. Wait, that wrong one. They
Oh,
use 448. And thank you for that because I was actually going to ask your opinion on what refrigerant you use because eventually I think we're going to start selling equipment, like I said, just for that real. I'm still. I think I'm phasing out the last of the R22 systems that we have around here. Like, I think it's time to
mm.
give them a new system. So like Megan had said in the chat, like just keep fixing things and you won't have to deal with it for some time. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to like, because I had another one that they were like, just give us a price on a
But
new one. What?
well, I was gonna say I just had a scenario this week, dude. It was an evap coil, all these leaks in it, R22, flat like the cost of the coil, and if you did the like it
Oh yeah.
literally is, you know what I mean? So it's like you
Well,
could for sure,
I have two
you
scenarios
opted for a new
because
system.
yeah, I have two. Well, you always give the customer the option. I have two scenarios though. Like one of them, I think it was a micro channel, and we were trying to look for a leak, and it
Mm,
ended up being a service port that I could tell,
hmm.
because I did a vacuum and all that, and then like I didn't find a leak. I didn't like. I'm like, your evaporator is rusted out. I got like the smallest hit. It might have a like a micro leak at somewhere, but nothing bubbled up, nothing anything. And I was like super confused because I'm like, this thing looks in good condition. I just don't know where it leaked. Charged it up, weighed it in, and then I took off my hose and it was like pouring out of the service port. So that Schrader was messed
Mm.
up. Right. So I'm like, that could have been why it went flat because they don't do maintenance. They don't have us there all the time. Like I'm never on that roof. I don't know the history on it. So that like over a year, 2 years, that could have been the leak. I don't know. So they were ready to they were convincing themselves like we might need a new system, and I was like, I would rather check it and see if I can fix it for now, right? Because I don't want to deal with this A2L crap. But I have another one at another location that the evaporator is shot, the condenser coil is shot. It's too much to repair. So that one, I'm like, yes, you would need one, right? So, I mean, there's two scenarios there, and it's just, I'm on Megan's side though. Like, I'm trying to fix everything I can so I can avoid it for now.
And I think that's where some of our we're missing with the trade is we say we need tradespeople and we need skills and we need the skilled trades. And then when it comes to it, who are we paying the money to? We're paying the money to the people that sell units that don't
Bro.
fix anything.
Yeah.
Like, why don't we
Well,
have the money being paid in to the skilled person that has the knowledge and can fix stuff? Because that's the value. Anybody can sell. I mean, they literally bring people out of other trades or other not trades, like people
yeah.
that
Yeah.
sell share
Yeah.
housing or whatever. Like, hey,
Yeah.
we'll teach you how to sell HVAC. And I'm like, anybody can do that. How can you fix it though? That takes a lot of knowledge, experience, and a skill.
You know, to piggyback off that, like you said, like bringing people into the trades, a lot of, where these most of the time, I mean, I could be wrong, is when guys that are new, they're always asking, well, how do I get a job? Well, the bigger companies are going to hire them, right? And just because they can do that, but then they're going to train them in with their processes and procedures, which comes down to basically just being selling techs, right?
Yep.
Prior, and then we just get that's, oh, but I'm making so much money, man. And then, you throw all the money at a kid or even some guy who's changing his career at 35 and like, hey, man. And, I just think that's our problem. I mean, we've all been talking about that for some time too. But yeah, no, you're right with the skilled portion. That's what it is. Like you hear the guys, I go to Jiffy Lube. The guy follows the script. I like that guy. I ask him if he wants to come in for an interview because you know what? I can teach him how to sell garage doors. You know what I mean? It's like,
Unfortunately, yes. Oh, Eddie brings up one that came to mind. The Next Starway. Next,
yeah.
there's a bunch of them. Next Tech, Next whatever. There's a few of them.
I I won't say some of that stuff I don't implement, like in terms of like parking your car not in the driveway but on the street, wearing your booties, those same like, but like not the I don't know. There's things you can take away that does make sense to help the customer and just treat them right with respect and everything like that. And but always just do your due diligence. And I think it's overlooked. So I posted might have been a story the other day. I was the fourth company out there. Every other one said the system needed to be replaced. I said, did anyone try to fix it? He was like, no, they just, they came in, they couldn't figure it out. They said it was this, this, this. I get the fuse was blown, bro. And it was like the Goodman with the little, I don't know what type of fuse it is, like the tube, the cylinder. You know what I mean? And it's a pain in the ass and it's in the little thing to take out. And I was like, did anyone bring this to you? Like he was like, no. I was like, well, son of a bitch. You know what I mean? It was like, obviously there was something that led to that. The transformer, was shot. It was pretty wrecked to say the least. But it took the fourth company to come out to at least give that option, right? Like I sent the options to repair the things and take the next step, but it is what it
And that's
is.
what we need more of. That scenario came up in a conversation with me and my dad because we were talking about something, and I'm like, yeah, like we go out there and we try to help them out when other companies. Because I was telling my cousin, I was giving him some tips, right? Because he's doing a lot more calls and checking this and that. I'm like, look, a lot of times because I already know these customers, like look for this, look for that. Don't kind of have this tunnel vision on refrigerant or it's this or that, right? Like just look at everything because right now I'm having a lot of issues with like airflow and people want to think it's like something complete. Like I had somebody who wanted to condemn a unit and I'm like, I went up there, all the ducts are disconnected from the like the flex ducts are coming off of the
Yeah.
trunk. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is your issue here. Like you're not, it's not cooling because all your attic is cold, right? Like there's other things that you need to look for. So I told my cousin there was this it was a small business too, I think, but they came in, they tried to fix a walk-in box, replace the TXV. What do you know? It's a TXV, right? And it still wasn't working. And I went in there. All I had to do was adjust my superheat. And I'm like, here you
Mm.
go. you were way out of whack. You know, the bulb placement was fine, everything was fine, but he didn't take the time to adjust it or anything. And then once I did that, it dropped dramatically. I'm like, I don't want to bash on the guy, but I just had to go in there and adjust it, right? Like we need skilled technicians out there. You can't just go there and be like, oh, it's bad. You need a new one.
I was hanging out with some of the rack guys last month, and man alive, that was awesome. I had so much fun. But they actually have, I mean, they're so precise on when they're setting and adjusting things, and they wait and see, and they spend all this time making sure everything's dialed in. I'm like, man, I'm used to just having to like get it fixed and go. And he goes, oh no, we have that. In the middle of the
Mm-hmm.
night, we have to just get things going. But then we come back when we can, and then we get things lined out because you're not talking about, you know, $1,000 compressor. You're talking about a very expensive compressor. More important than that, how much food they lose and the, you know, the
Oh
product
yeah,
that they lose. They're losing so much product. And I think of, you know, a restaurant losing a lot of product. He's like, yeah, magnify that by a whole lot. And I'm like, you know, it
that's
was so
why.
cool seeing one
Yeah,
PSI, like adjusting for that. I'm like, wow, that's awesome.
that's why I'll never do supermarket. I don't want that responsibility.
Yeah,
We've been
right.
asked locally to do some other stuff. I'm like, no, I'll stick to small fast food restaurants. That's just what I enjoy doing. But it always baffles me when I see technicians from other companies go in and out. They replace something real quick and then they leave. I was like, I have to stay there, wait for it to drop temp, or get a good temp split if it's like HVAC. But on refrigeration stuff, like little things can throw it out of whack. So I'm
Yes.
used to staying there and like watching it cycle a few times and you know being sure, because if not, it keeps me up at night. That's just the way it is.
So I was doing some training in New York 4 years ago, and there was a beer system, and it's beer lines, right? It's a beer cooler. So we got it running, and like I had that feeling like, hey, something's just not right. And the guy's like, hey, it's late, it's Saturday, we want to go home. Like, you know, we'll come back. I'm like, yeah, you know, it'll probably be fine. Nope, we leave, and they called us back like 2 hours later, and we're back. And I'm like, I knew better. I knew
Yeah.
better than those to leave.
Yeah, every time, I swear. Yeah, that happens. Favorite calls
Mhm.
are good luck, you're the third guy. That was you, Jake.
Yeah, dude. I was like, but it was pretty evident, right? You know what I mean? I was like, well, first thing, hey, not getting 24 volts over here, guys. You know what I mean? Like, let's just trace it back. But it ended up, yeah. Anyways, it is what it
That is
is.
right, Brian. Patience is key.
The key is patience, they say. Patience is key, they say. Yeah, I don't
So
have to
that
deal with that as much as you guys do with that refrigeration stuff. So,
that's what I love. I prefer. I would rather do that than an AC system all day. Um, as far as the new refrigerant tanks, they have that different relief valve on them, right? Like, is that going to be an issue in Texas?
It's actually better if you think about it, because what did our old tanks do if you had one pop off? It blew the whole
Yeah.
entire charge. Like there was no stopping it. So at least now this closes back when it can. Like so it's able
Oh,
to
yeah.
you know reseal. So with 32, like not a problem at all. Just a single component refrigerant. My question is, what happens when R454B starts bleeding off? Is it losing more of one than another? Because you know we're supposed to charge it as a liquid. So that's my question. Like,
Uh,
and we don't know the answer yet, right? But it looks
I've
to me
only
like it's
seen,
fractionated.
yeah, I've only seen one rupture before. It was a 410A tank, but it was somebody that left it in the bed of the truck, and that thing just
Sunlight.
popped. Yeah,
It happens in Vegas a lot just because it gets so hot in the vans with the sun shining on it. But yeah, it happens. It's a mess. So I like this. I think we should have been using this valve all along, but I'm worried about the
sure.
fractionation of 454B. Now, also 454B, I haven't done a video on this yet because I don't have a for sure answer. But I'm getting reports from people around the country saying when they get everything set up and started, they have like no subcooling, and then they add, and it takes like 2 to 3 hours before it really balances out. And they were having to come back the next day and recover charge out. And what we're finding is that you have to really let it run for a while to settle out before you can start making adjustments. And what I think is happening is that the 454B is separating in the units during shipment, sitting there,
mm,
and then we start it
Oh,
up. It's taking time before it mixes correctly again.
Dude, so it's funny because we've done no, I said this to Q, bro. We did like the last 454 route, and I was like, dude, I don't fucking like these systems. The startup, I don't like it. And I'm just like, I don't know what it is. Like one startup, it sounds bad too. You know what I mean?
Did you do a
And
video
like
or tell us about this?
I may have. I
This
might
sounds
have done.
familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, we tried, and I'm like, I don't like this. And I'm like, is this what we're gonna have to be dealing with? And like, and I did on that same scenario where I did add refrigerant because I was like, shit, like. But one weird thing is I looked at, and I think the pressures are relatively the same, but the sat temperatures weren't. I mean, they're enough off. I feel like at one point I was looking at something. I forget. It was a low 410 system, but I had it as 454. But the sat temp was like 19 for 454, but for 410 it was like 27 or something in that range on my probe set. I'm like, well, that's quite a difference in saturation when, but like your pressures are like, oh, they're about the same. But like if you don't check that portion, you know what I mean? Which I don't know. It's just gonna be a big learn. We're still learning. We're still learning it, but it sucks. So to your point, yeah, the startups on new
That
systems is yeah.
sounds like
which
another
is going to
issue
be money.
I don't want.
It's like R32 in 15 minutes, like you're balanced out. You know what you got. But if we're having to wait an hour or 2 hours on startups, and nobody has that time, like we're tired by the time you get started up. Like I love a commissioning report, but I never want the installer to have to do that because at the end of the day, they're tired, they're cleaning up, and the house is hot anyway. So you need to have someone going to come back, ideally, which we don't always have
Mm,
that luxury to do an actual commissioning. But 454B, just to make sure it's running correctly at all, 2 hours. Some people are saying one company said they even had to wait 3 hours before they get the charge right. I'm like 3 hours after an install, like that's and they had to have known that. They've done testing on every aspect. Why didn't anybody give us a heads up on that? And that's why I feel jaded by the manufacturers on this because,
mm.
hey, the shortage isn't your fault, but you guys knew about how long this had to have balanced. You had to have tested that and known what was happening. Why keep that a secret from us? And I haven't done a video yet. First time I've talked about it in public here, but
Hmm.
Shout
it's a
out,
big story.
shout out.
Well, I mean and Jake actually, had an experience like that. So I mean, it is a thing. It's just, and it's gonna throw you off. Like you said, you have to go back,
Mm-hmm.
or you have to
Dude,
just be aware or know that. And obviously, like you said, they're not gonna admit to it, so you're not even gonna hear it from them. You're just gonna have to figure it out.
what
That's right.
that we've talked about this. It's like truly though, like with these manufacturers, what you know what I mean? Like, are we gonna start our own manufacturing plant? You know what I mean? It's like, damn. It's and they can almost just get away with it, and we just have to deal with. I don't know. I mean, that's a shitty way of looking at it. You know what I mean?
I I think that like if going from 22 to 410A, it was a big deal at the time. But for me as a technician, I was like, hey, it's temperature and pressure. Like it wasn't that big of a deal. When we were first going to this new refrigerants, I wasn't concerned about it because I've already been through so many refrigerant changes before. It's temperature and pressure. The
Hmm.
flammability, I played with it. So I was trying to get people comfortable with it because it's just a refrigerant. But the other issues with not having enough, like that's to me is like unacceptable. That's if the government's
Mm.
going to regulate that we have to use this, and there should be a regulation on how much it costs and availability, like they did with electricity and other things. And this,
Oh yeah.
all this 1234 YF. Oh, sorry, I gotta take that off. Yeah. So with this 1234 YF, there was so much lobbying going on for this refrigerant to our lawmakers. They lobbied for it back when the EPA tried to do it before the AIM Act. There's actually the Freedom of Information Act where they lobbied for it. They actually wrote presidents, both presidents. They wrote Trump thanking him for it. They wrote Biden thanking him for their stuff on it. Like they've pushed for this, even when the EPA tried to or got sued to stop the global warming potential regulations. Chemours and Honeywell joined the lawsuit on the EPA side to get it regulated. And at the same time, they also lobbied against natural refrigerants and they lobbied against any regulations on forever chemicals. So it's like, it's
You
obvious,
should-
right? And I have documentation to back all of this up. I'm not just saying it. I'll send anybody the links to this.
I love it.
No,
See,
I was like, Ty comes prepared.
he comes with
Like,
his
yeah.
receipts, man. Play around, fuck around, and find out. Sorry for the language. Oh man, that's
But
no.
yeah, and I do. I mean, my whole thing is I do refrigeration, so I already gave up on trying to carry all the damn tanks. Like, I'm
Oh
gonna
yeah,
schedule and get a tank as needed from
yeah.
the shop, right? Because like
That's
that's why I haven't done the 448 or any of those because I'm like I already got my tank, my rack filled up, and now I got to
Yep.
choose between 454 and R32 or maybe both, whatever.
yeah.
But they're not making it any easier. It's just, it is what it is.
One thing I hate is there's people that I greatly respect, and organizations I greatly respect, and they're writing these articles like, well, we understand that these are rough times, but you can't mix your own, and you can't use 410A in place, and you can't do this, and you can't do that, and you. So I'm
Yeah.
like, legally, you're just supposed to tell your customers f off. I can't service your system because of every refrigerant. Sorry. I'm like, no. How about you come in? Like, well, these challenging times. No, it's not challenging times. You
Yeah.
screwed up and didn't get us the refrigerant that we have to have. That's not a challenge. We'll fix it with 410A. Like we'll solve it or some other refrigerant. But
Yep.
I think they should ride in with technicians when they're like, hey, we're going to have another refrigerant. Okay, let's go ride with the refrigeration tech and see how many tanks they have to carry. And then you're supposed to
Mm.
have a recovery tank for each one. So how many recovery
Yes.
tanks you're going to carry? How much extra
Gosh.
fuel, cost, like all of this going on. So if you want to look at the environmental aspect of it, let's look at the whole picture, and we need to either, hey, if we got to go to natural refrigerants and flammability, like I'm
Yeah.
all for it.
Someone
Like,
someone
let's
mentioned
just jump in there.
yeah, the
Look
R290 and
at
all that. There you go. 600. Oh
then.
yeah,
Yeah.
600. Well, that's I didn't even think about that. That's a whole other thing because I am doing that where because before I had three major ones that I carried and then three of the recovery tanks for those that I would always carry. So I always had six tanks back when it was like 404, 134A, and then like R22, whatever we were using. And then we had to introduce 410A. And then I was like, okay, let me get a four rack tank or holder. And then I had to get 407C because we had to do some retrofits for that. And then I was like, I'm not going to carry all the recovery machines. Like, if we have to do a change out or anything, I'm going to go pick that up the day of, right? Like, I have it at the shop and stuff like that.
Mm.
But that's driving back and forth. I mean, make it make sense, right? Because it's just not you. It's always gonna have. There's always gonna be an issue somewhere. It's not just let's change refrigerants and we solve all the problems. Like, you're creating more than you actually solve at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no regulation on coils leaking. Like they're making new units with coils leaking. I got R12
Immediately.
units that are 40 years old that aren't leaking, and they're like, "Oh, here's a new unit that's 2 days old or leaking from the factory or leaking in a month later." Oh no, we're
Dude.
not going to regulate that. But if you vent refrigerant, we're coming after you. Supposedly.
Well, I had seen some of your videos too, like people asking if they could. I want to say throw in 410A to a 454B unit, but you were saying that it's that those are two very different as far as like
So if
compressor stuff like that.
if you pull out 454B
Oh
and
no,
put in 410A, it'll work.
I'm sorry, R32. You cannot replace it with R32.
Oh yeah. That's different because R32 has a different compressor displacement, a different oil to handle the higher temperature. The discharge line temperature is much higher, and so yeah, you will burn out a compressor if you pull out 454B and put in 32. And I've known people that's tested that, and they can
Yes.
vouch for that. So yeah, the discharge line temperature on a normal day is 230, and the whole saying was 225 to stay alive for old oil. So it will cook the oil. So you have to have it's PVE 68, POE 45, POE 32B or something like that for the oils. You have to look it up to get the exact number, but the oil is different. So the completely different with 32.
Because we had heard that before, like when we talked about it on the show, and I think the chat too, like just buy R32 and put it in there, but very different.
And then if you mix it, you fractionate it essentially. So there's 454, which just means 454 means it's 32 and 1234 YF. The capital letter means that it's a blend, and A means it's a mixture of this percentage, B is this percentage, and C is that percentage. So 454B is just the exact percentage of 68.9% R32 and 31.1% of R1234YF. And then 454A is a different mixture of those same numbers. So when you start adding more of one only, you're doing the same thing as fractionation. So now you've changed the temperature pressure points, you've changed the glide, and you don't really know where you're at. So I don't blame somebody for having to do it. They need to get by, and I can't blame that person, but it really makes it a problem for the next person coming through because they think
Mm.
they know what they're doing, and then they don't
Uh
know
huh.
that it's been fractionated. So
I forgot. I forgot. I was going to mention that's another thing. Like we can blame manufacturers and all these regulations as much as we want. That is a big problem. But us as technicians have to be better too. Because I did a video not too long ago where it wasn't even about the system. I was trying to like show off the probes that I got because I was like testing them out. And I was like, this unit needs to be topped off because they replaced a condenser for a walk-in box, but they didn't replace the evaporator. This is an R22 system. And I had to go look because I always verify by the TXV. That's the only way that I can find out what they used. But before it was easier because it was one of a few things, just R22, 404, and maybe 134A that I had to distinguish. Now, when they put in that new condenser, I looked at the side and I had it on camera. I'm like, guys, we're gonna have to guess. It's either 448, 449, 404, 407. Like, there's a list of like 10 or 15 refrigerants that thing is good for, and you can go by the compressor as well and all that. But like a lot of them, if they use POE oil, uh, it's all these refrigerants that it's compatible with. It's just your TXV. So I have no idea. They didn't label it or anything. So I was like, please, if you are out there doing retrofits or doing this kind of work, you need to label these systems because us as technicians need to do our part as well. I told the customer, I was like, look, you need a new evaporator. And once we do that, we'll recover the whatever is in there and put in what we use. That's the only way I can fix it.
right.
Hmm.
Yes, labeling is so important. So if somebody's pulling out 454B and putting in 410A, label it something so the next person knows what's going on. And everything HVAC, I love him. He's awesome. He's exactly right. There is a different flow rate. It's a different density between 454B and 410A. And the compressor's a little different, metering device a little different, even though Carrier puts out, I mean, a manufacturer puts out a package in it with 410A metering devices. Um, it is a little different, but it will work. Just like if you took R22 out and used one of the other alternatives, some work better than others. It's not exactly the same, but it will work. And I get a lot of people mad. You have to use only 454B. I'm like, well, number one, we don't have it. Number two, how do you explain all the alternatives for R22? One
Mm-hmm.
of the reasons they chose 454B is because there were the fewest amount of changes needed to equipment. So they actually did lots of testing putting 454B in 410A systems. That's how they got all their original numbers, was off of those same tests. That's why it's the same coils, similar
Yeah.
metering devices. All this stuff is so much close because the manufacturer didn't have to change anything. If they switched to R32, they had to make a lot of other changes. It would have been a lot more costly for them. And that's another reason they wanted 454B. So they're so close together. That's why, people are having really good success with it. Not mixing,
Yeah.
replacing.
See that
Yeah, it
that's
needs to be
the,
labeled.
I'm used to seeing that on the refrigeration side because there's been so many replacements and a lot of the coils are good for so many refrigerants. It's just the TXV and the compressor, On some of your videos, I saw that they're just labeling 454 right over like 410A labels, just
Yeah,
making them brand new for whatever. Yeah, they're the same.
yep, yep. It's crazy.
And at some point, I would assume because a lot of the TXVs, like I said, that I see on walk-ins and stuff like that, they're good for several refrigerants. And I want to say that might be a thing on this 454B TXV. They might be good for several now, right?
So it's really cool. Dan Foss is having one that's not released yet, but it's being shipped to wholesalers by the end of this month. It's one TXV, and they spent a lot of time engineering it, so it wasn't just like a last minute thing. And they have a cross reference guide. but they've got the bulb charge right to work with 410A, 454B, and 32. Now,
Oh,
I
cool.
think it may be a different for the same tonnage. 32 might be a different actual model number of the TXV, but it's cool that they did that, and so I'm looking forward to getting one. I'm not I haven't been a fan of their TXVs in the past, but I like this concept, so I'm going to get my hands on one and test it out.
Interesting. That's the one that I had seen. That looked interesting. And that reminds me of a video of people having to change out the TXVs and do all these modifications in the field just to get the customer cooling because they can't get one of several things. They can't get a coil or they can't get the refrigerant, something. And they're just having to modify stuff.
Mike B says POE oil and EEVs can't go wrong.
Yeah.
I think you one better, PVE oil, polyvinyl ester oil. That is a PVE oil isn't hygroscopic. It won't turn to an acid when you get moisture with it. So I don't know why we ever used POE in the first place. PVE to me is the sound winner. It carries oil well with the refrigerant, doesn't turn to an acid, and handles higher temperatures. It's awesome.
Then when I deal with electronic expansion valves on the refrigeration side, it's so much easier because you just tell that thing, oh, I'm using this refrigerant or that refrigerant, and it does its own thing.
It's metal.
I'm going to go through the chat real quick.
Yeah, check that chat out,
It's
bro.
been off and off. It's been great. Like you guys are awesome out there.
I'm trying to
So
keep
cool
up
seeing
with it.
Jason Johnson. I just
Oh,
want to hang out
Jace,
with Jason Johnson a day
I
during at work.
know. I know. He's SpaceX over here working on all these cool things.
That's it's pretty badass. That's where am I missing this, man? Is it
Have you not
Big
seen it?
J? Nah, but I don't do this often, so
Yeah, EEVs on the equipment, easy money. And the sensors. That's another thing. We have to deal with sensors now too. And who knows?
oh
My whole
shit.
thing is I don't trust a lot of these. I've had bad sensors and transducers out of the box. And, how are we going to deal
Yep.
with that too? Because every equipment now is going to require sensors. I even talked to Heatcraft and, the new walk-in box evaporators are going to have a sensor, I think, on each side or something like that. All these extra things that we have to deal with. It's just, more and more.
So I'm a fan of EEVs. I know that a lot of people don't like them, but man, they work as a solenoid and an expansion valve at the same time. They have so much better control over a TXV because a TXV you're going to have a swing. So it tries to do good, but it has only so much it can open and close. Whereas an EEV is going to get right down precise. You can get in a 5 degree superheat and it'll maintain it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it does require some other things. Like we have to have the manual tools to manually open and close it, the little magnets, which is expensive. So I get that. We have to understand how to, check, ohm it out, with all the different steps to see is it the motor or the valve that's sticking. And then we have to be able to pull that motor off and clean it or apply a type of dielectric so it doesn't rust up. Which is why don't manufacturers do that from the beginning?
Yeah,
Like they know it's going to
I
be in a
know.
walk-in cooler, they know it's going to be condensation. Like put some stuff on there. Why do I got to do that? Anyways, side note. But yes, testing the sensors is an issue. But once you start testing them, it's actually pretty easy. Now, habits, right? I'm old school. But once you start doing it, it's like, okay, it's cool. Ice water, dip it in there, see your ohm ratings, and it's pretty easy to be able to test them. And I do test them out of the box. I don't trust anything
Mm.
coming from a shipping container overseas, but I test them, and
No, it happened.
I
It
think
happened
I
to
like
me.
them.
It happened to me once on a brand new walk-in that we put in, and the thing didn't want to work, and it was a bad transducer. So now when I do these installs, I check them against my equipment, my gauges or my probes. I go through the settings and go and try to read all the sensors and see if we're matching up because any psi off, like I'm just specifically talking about like freezers, it's really going to screw up that superheat and really going to screw up what it's doing. And like you said, it's trying to maintain a certain psi temperature, superheat, all that stuff. And if it's not reading correctly, it's going to be way off. Let me see. So the other scenario is guys having to buy like the 90-pound tanks. I think we've talked about that on nights too, and trying
Oh
to
yeah,
transport that. And I know you've gotten a lot of interesting comments on that. Is there like a
I was
special
recommending
adapter
that
for
at
that
first.
also?
Yes,
Okay.
it's reverse threads also on that giant tank. So the problem is getting a hold of that adapter, and a lot of people I recommended to do that, and they're like, "Hey, I can't find the adapters anymore."
Mm.
Well, I don't blame that one because who would have thought that many people would be buying the 90-pound tanks? So I understand they didn't have that much stock. Like that's legit. Like that's
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
thing. But I stopped recommending it because people can't find the adapter. Even I tried to get one online, and I couldn't. Everybody was sold out. So, and then you can't carry that 90-pound tank everywhere. So you have to put it in a recovery tank. And then there's people like, oh, recovery tanks, you should never use refrigerant out of recovery tank. I'm like, yeah, cool story, bro. But, it's life. Like we have to do stuff.
Obviously, never been in the field before.
I'll say the last 32 I got from Daikin, it came with a adapter.
Mm.
Nice.
That was pretty, yeah, with the bag attached to the top. So I was like, all right.
Good looking out.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like. Well, I the whole recovery thing. I know you can't recover and transport it and use it somewhere else. Like if you're taking it out of a system, but like sometimes we do repairs and we take out refrigerant, do our repair, and then put it back in because it's a newer system. So like it's done in the field. You just like you said, the adapter is going to be a whole other issue.
well, that whole using refrigerant in another scenario, nobody's ever been. I looked through all the public records and nobody's ever been fined for that. A technician has never been fined for venting refrigerant, which is actually a legitimate concern. Now, people have been fined, but not an actual technician. Companies have been fined, but not a technician. But using recovered refrigerant, they don't care about that. I got a friend of mine that bought a propane tank, pulled a vacuum on it for a week, dehydrated it, pulled it under a deep vacuum back in the early 2000s, and they started recovering all their 22 and put it in that tank. So now that when anything they need 22 and they don't have any, they just use the recovered refrigerant. And they tell the customer, look, I'm not selling you this. I'm just selling you the service. The refrigerant is free, and they're able to keep their customers running, and they're reusing refrigerant, and it's the true idea of recycling. And I'm like, dude, that is smart. And he goes, yeah, it cost us a
Yeah,
lot of money back then, but it's paying for itself now. I'm like, I like that.
that's actually really cool. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's gonna have to be some workarounds because like this whole industry just can't just be on pause, be on hold, just stop. Like we got to figure it out. So a lot of workarounds,
I
but
have a video that I recorded, but I haven't uploaded it. And I'm not sure, so this would be a good question, a place to ask the chat. I had a video calling on lawmakers, the FCC, the people that signed the AIM Act to do an investigation, one of those congressional hearings, or to look into what actually happened, to see what caused it, and if somebody was taking advantage of this to hold them accountable, and if it was just simply a breakdown so that it never happens again. But I feel like it's outside of my lane, and I really don't like lawmakers, so I don't know if I really want to go out. Like, should I post that, or should I just let it fall? In the
What kind of a,
comments, you can.
yeah, everybody spam the chat, bro. Spam the chat.
I think everybody's going to get behind you on that one, but
Yeah, right.
someone needs to
Exactly.
be
If
accountable for it.
yo,
It's just that government never
1,000%.
fixes anything. So
No.
That's
No, it's just
that's no.
just
You're
to get the word out. That's all we can
and
do.
if anyone's gonna if someone's gonna be the guy, I prefer it to be you. All
I've
right.
already ticked off the manufacturers anyway. So it's like at this point, oh, did you know that some of our leading industry, we have 2 different webinars coming up that's going to help us fix the shortage. And I'm like, guys, I respect you guys, but a webinar from the same people that caused it isn't going to do poop.
I
That's interesting.
what I want to know what it's gonna what is it gonna be? Yeah.
So one of them is the ACCA hosting it, and they have people like Chris Forth from Johnson Supply. They have somebody from Honeywell there. They have actually somebody from Worthington Tanks there. I'm going to be there just
Oh.
to see what kind of spin they try to put it, because that way they can't blame everybody else. I kind of like that. The other one is from the HVACR News, which I respect them, and also
Mm-hmm.
ESCO, which I greatly respect them. But they're going to be talking about the shortage, and I'm like, a webinar during the day, like, what do you, I mean, come on, guys. And then are you going to tell us how to actually fix anything? Because I've already argued with these people. It's so difficult to stand up to people that you respect and that you admire, and you're having to stand up to them and be like, hey, you're disconnected. Well, you can tell us all day long not to do these things, but nobody's telling us what we can do. So that's why I'm putting
Yeah.
these videos out. I'm like,
Boom.
look, if somebody's going to do it, hey, pull out the 454B you put in for today. It'll work, right? It's not going to break anything. Use recovered refrigerant out of these scenarios. Like, so yeah, it's not ideal, but I'd rather somebody do something that's not going to hurt a system, because there's people that's putting this in its place, and that will cause
Ooh.
problems.
I've
So
heard, yeah,
that's
I've heard
Yeah.
the burnout stories on the compressors. Yeah.
So Jason said I haven't ticked you off yet. So I have ticked off a lot of technicians. I just call things like, hey, if I see a better way of doing something, I call it out. And if I see something that's like false information, I call it out. Sometimes that's my friends, sometimes that's my colleagues, sometimes that's the industry, sometimes it's other technicians. So I'm always making somebody mad, no matter what. I'm making somebody mad.
But
That's
he always says it with a smile, though. he does. He does.
Hey, we
I love it.
and that's what going to social media, that's what that platform is for. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
us in the trenches dealing with this, can speak up, because like, how else is that going to be heard? And like Jake said, I'd rather have nobody else doing it but Ty. So go ahead,
Yeah.
have at it.
Someone. Yeah, man. I wouldn't be the guy, because they come back and ask me a question. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know, man. I just had
Ask
this
Ty.
one liner I wanted to use and thought it was cool. And now I don't know. But nope, Tile. Rebuttal. Boom, boom,
I like
boom.
to find out also why. So if I have an answer, I like to look it up to make sure I can back it up, because I was told a lot of things that were incorrect in my day and learning in the trades by people I respect, who meant well, who are good people. I would just was told incorrectly. So now when I go to answer, I try to look to make sure I can back it up. And I
Mm-hmm.
also have tried growing into some other things. Like, I love VRF. I haven't worked on a VRF system, but I love the VRF, and it's just like blows me away all of the stuff that's in there. I've taken so many classes on it, but in the VRF group, I don't answer questions, but people ask questions, and I go to see if I can find it, and then wait for the people that I trust and know to see how close I got. And so it's been like this fun little game. The same thing with building science too. So some answers I know, and some I'm like, I'm not sure. Here's what I think it is, and I like write it down and then wait to see what some of these heavy hitters of the industry will say and see how close I got. And then I ask them sometimes, hey, can you back that up? And then they do. And I love that, because then I can learn, like, I'm asking this much of a question, and I can
Hmm.
learn this much of a question.
Hey,
There you go.
this
Never
guy,
stop
this
learning.
guy, this guy loves to
I was
HVAC,
I was
bro.
waiting for Jason to comment. Hate VRF.
Yeah,
He's always
right.
talking about it.
Yeah,
It's not
Roman
his
Baugh
favorite.
is awesome. He's gosh, I've taken so many classes, and I got to sit down with him in the last month, and he went through a torn down VRF system, and he was going over like all of like why the manufacturer did this, why they did that. Here's what they're trying to solve. Here's how you would diagnose it. And a lot of it was completely over my head, but I was just like, it was fascinating. And so now I want to spend more time hanging out with him, so that eventually some more of that will soak in, and I'm going to ride around with some more VRF people to, see that firsthand. But I mean, I think it's just awesome, all of the technology and parts and pieces that go into that. And honestly, when I first look at that, I'm like, whoa, I'm overwhelmed. But then the more classes you take and the more you see about it, it's like, oh, okay, well, that makes more sense now. Okay, I understand that better. And so it's just been awesome learning that side of it.
Sam says we should only buy R32
Ooh,
equipment and
well,
protest.
especially with what we found out, right?
Yeah.
earlier in the show. It's like, man, no, that's straight up. I mean, good point, Sam. The real Sam Andrew. Will you please stand up?
All right. Well, I don't want to keep you too long, Ty. It's been great having you on here. Uh,
Yes,
Kurt
thank you.
appreciates you as well. His little hammer
Hammer
here in
down.
spirit.
Grab his
What?
hammer. Grab his hammer. Grab his hammer. Oh, it's the other way.
The wrong
Grab
way.
the hammer. I'm trying to grab the hammer. There you go. Bring it down, Adrian. Bring the hammer down. Oh,
Um,
that was good. Ugh.
are you talking about
What do you-
Ty? Dylan? He's like, I was just listening to this guy talk about triple evacuation.
Wait.
Oh yeah, I have some videos in that too that upset people as well, and I'm like, look, you can do whatever you want. I'm just bringing in the information
What
because
were people
I
upset about with that?
So, a lot of the old, oh man, that's a big topic. A lot of the older books would say triple evacuation, but none of them actually talked about why. So, Jeremy Smith, who's a commercial supermarket refrigeration guy, wrote an article several years ago about how nitrogen does not absorb moisture and the flaw with triple evacuation and how it's not doing what we thought. And when I first saw that, I was like, well, that challenges what I thought. So I researched it, and I'm like, no, that's actually true. It's sound. And then I went to like, well, why are we using that? And it actually goes back to when we used to triple evac with actual R22. And R22 would move the oil, and that was the
Yeah.
key. And then there's a whole thing, and it's like the whole goal is to be clean, dry, and tight. So if you're down holding under 500 microns after decay test, like there's no moisture. So whether you had to use nitrogen to get there or not, like that's the goal. The problem today is our nitrogen is so polluted. The nitrogen tanks are polluted, and so you're actually putting moisture into the system. So it's taking even longer because you're having to pull that moisture back out. And some of the tanks, like the Ambrose tanks, those are like, in my experience so far, have been like really clean, but that's super expensive to use on an every application.
Mhm.
So it's the hard part's getting true dry nitrogen. And so, anyways, it's a whole big thing. And I'm like, look, I don't care if people use it or not. I want the information to be out there. So, yeah,
What do you think
that
about?
one upset a lot of people too.
Oh, well, what do you think about the guys that just say used compressed air?
Oh, well, then you're for sure putting moisture in, like you're putting in
We had,
moisture and
I think we brought
contaminants
that
and
up.
everything.
Yeah, I think we brought that up because there's these older
I
texts.
have
You
the purest
guys
of
are-
the pure nitro out there. That's all I'm saying.
I know, but some guys are like, you guys are gullible. You don't need nitrogen. Just use compressed air.
So I got a friend of mine who uses CO2. He's got good luck with that. But the problem with brazing with CO2 is, and I don't know how accurate it is, but if you're flowing CO2 and you're brazing, it's possible for the CO2 to break down and for you to get oxidation. Theoretically, I haven't tested it. The other problem with CO2 is it freezes up when it's coming out,
Yeah.
and you get the CO2 ice crystals. So, nitrogen is cheaper for the most part, and if you can get dry nitrogen, it's great. And I flow nitrogen when I braze, and I sweep nitrogen before I pull a vacuum to get that latent moisture air out before I ever pull a vacuum. It's just
Same.
once you're already in a vacuum, introducing nitrogen to it, like there's a few people that have some scenarios that could help, but it's not the ice thing is completely ridiculous. The whole,
Preach.
unless you're working where it's, next to freezing. If you're working in Ohio
yeah.
and it's
Jake's
close
brought
to
that
freezing, yeah, you could definitely get ice.
up. I forgot what I was gonna say, but yeah, like triple evac, it always goes back to R22. That's everything that we've ever known. Always goes back to because it was R22. Now it's not the same. It's not the same refrigerant, not the same oil, none of that. So keep that in mind.
And it was the mineral oil that made it so good. And so like the R22 wasn't, I mean, it was okay, but it was the oil, the mineral oil was just robust. That's what made it so so awesome. Now, Jake, wasn't it you or maybe it's somebody else that had called me out on one of the expos? It was like, hey, you had a video about hard start kits. And
I
I'm
wanted
like, yeah,
to ask you that, bro.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was me.
So like long ago, it was like, I don't remember how many years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. I did a video about start kits, and I told everything I knew about it. And then I learned about start kits, and I learned about scroll compressors, especially I worked for a major compressor manufacturer, and I took the video down because the video promoted start kits across the board, and that was wrong. And so the information I said was wrong. So I took that video down, and since I've replaced it with videos talking about when you could use one, and then that they're not this one thing that fits all for everything because of how technology changes. So what I'm trying to say is, yeah, I get things wrong too, which is one of the other reasons I research more before I say something to make sure that I'm, putting out less bad stuff. But yeah, no, that was good, Jake. I was like, when you called that, I was like, yes, that's correct. I did that bad video, and I'm glad I took it down.
That's so funny, yeah. Because I'll try to rebuttal with some people. I was like, well, because I was feeling your stuff then, and that's why I was like, hold up, because I wanted to bring this up to somebody, and it was gone, and it was down at what's the thing, the symposium. Saw you at the symposium. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. What's going on, guys? What's up, Chris?
Chris Dolo.
Shout out, Dolo.
Anything else, Jake?
No, man. Ty, I'd like to just again thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a great Friday,
The
a
other way,
great
Ty.
weekend.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. There we go. And look me in my eyes. Oh, too much now. Appreciate you, man. No, great conversation. If there's anybody if anybody has any questions, I'm sure they can just reach out to you. You're always freaking open. You're an open book, and I think so good for all of us in the community and the industry. And I love the joy you bring, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Thanks. This has been great.
It's been awesome. We love you, Ty. You've been the honorary knight for tonight, and I think we're gonna sign off now.
Much appreciated.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate you. Awesome.
there, yeah. Adrian, what he say?
All right. Well, I'm gonna cue the outro. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.
Later, y'all. It's got his hand again. So baby hand. Here we go. Ready? Nice. Nailed it.